Welcome back to Queued Up, everybody. My name is Chris, and today I'm joined with Justin, Eli, and Kepley for another episode of Queued Up for League of Legends. And how's everybody doing today?
Really good. Lots of exciting matches going on this past week.
Yeah, played a couple of games, got owned in ranked, and never going to play again. But hey, I'm going to keep watching the esport, that's for sure.
You should play the game and not watch the esport.
Oh, ooh, that might actually be better for the mental
big change up there on that one. But we're going to be jumping around the league, so we'll get right into it today for the matches that we're going over the weekend. We're going to start with our two LTA North matches, mostly with this banger of a C9 versus Shopify Rebellion, a little bit of a clown fiesta, but it went all 5 games with Shopify ultimately taking the victory over the #1 seed C9 of the time for the elimination phase part 1. Jumping into game #1 though, it looked pretty much how C9 I guess expected it when they called them out. Really strong game from them, 18 kills to 5, Thanatos popping off, especially Loki getting the solo kill on the Palafox in the mid lane for first blood after he called him out. Looked good. This game was pretty much what we expect out of them, although kind of when I was looking at it, I'm still kind of worried for C9 because they still are giving up the Yunara on first pick.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty bad move. Yunara is just way too strong right now. They still got the W, though, obviously. And what I noticed in this series, the games that they did win, Blabber was popping off. Blabber, if he's ever on a champion that he's more comfortable with and has a lot of experience with, this team is amazing. But I got to talk about Fudge, man. Fudge, for me, was the player of this series. In game 1, he didn't do a whole lot on the Galio, but later on in the series, he would pop off.
Yeah, I mean, I think you summed it up in the first sentence. Like, this game 1 was just as expected, right? This is what everyone thought for this series. This was going to be 3-0. Just Cloud9 kind of coming out the gate dominating. So Loki's, Vin, I mean, they just put on a classic performance. They're all on their kind of standard champions here. Skarner for Blabber, Vulcan on Alistar, just a nice beefy support just to help out the lineup. And Shopify, I think they kind of got baited into Yunara. Yunara obviously did okay, right? Went 1-3, but you got a power pick out early, and you got the win because Varus is just kind of OP as well. So I think this was just overall like a solid game 1. Just nothing out of the ordinary for Cloud9.
Yeah, I think this was just a big Varus dominance. And then as we got into game #2, it was more continued dominance from the AD carry side of things. Before it was Vin. This time in game #2, it was B-Boy on the Lucian, just dominating things. I think he ended up with around 14 kills. Was really running things for the whole game, but what was setting up for it was the hyper-mobile jungler, contracts on the Lee Sin, and that Orianna in the mid lane. I think that's a big pick that's seeing a big surgence in all of the leagues right now, and being able to play it is a huge spot. Big boon for Palafox.
Yeah, definitely, and Seos as well on that rel was really setting up in the lane phase, but really good gravitational fields pulling out. Good use of the spellbook, in my opinion, as well. We saw that on the upside from Vulcan, but I don't think it was really utilized to its full effect that we saw from Seos. So once a great job from them. But I mean, we kind of had a flip-flop there on where it was like one game dominated from C9, second game getting dominated by Shopify Rebellion. And I think this has been a little bit of an issue for C9 lately of where, like, when we're going into these 5-game series, that they're just kind of hit or miss every single game.
This, to me, what I saw a lot from Shopify this game was they were willing to take like 50-50 coin flip situations. Like on the Baron, for example, there was a time that they were in Baron Pit. They had it maybe half HP, but they just decided, let's just finish it. And all members of C9 were alive and around the Baron Pit. It was definitely a coin flip and could have gone either way. But when you're already down in the series, I kind of like them taking risks like that. It's like you're not expected to win this series anyways. If you can win that coin flip and then convert it to a win in this game, all of a sudden you're alive in the series. That's what they did. They took a lot of calculated risks and it paid off for them.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say that you put Fudge as your play of the series. For me, it's B-Boy, and it's not even close. B-Boy, this was his game to step up and shine. He secured it with a quadra kill, right? Cloud9, arguably, right? I think Cloud9 had this game in the bag, and they overstepped in that Dragon Pit, giving B-Boy a quadra kill, right? And so Cloud9 make a pretty rare mishap for them. And then you got to kind of see like, oh, okay, well, all's not super well in the Cloud9 camp, right? They are ahead in the game for a little bit. And then they make that one misstep, get caught out, allow B-Boy to start snowballing the game. That leads into a Baron, and they can essentially close out game 2. And I think that you just see this B-Boy kind of contracts duo really just take over this whole series.
You say rare, but I actually don't think it is rare. And it's a big issue that happened in their FlyQuest series as well, that we've seen Blabber dropping the ball around objectives. And I think this has been one of their biggest weak points actually going into stronger teams. We saw it against Furia at EWC as well, is that their jungle control and their map control sometimes is just not on point, and they get split really heavily. And I think that has been one of their biggest drawbacks right now for me. I believe, even though Blabber has been having some good games, we'll talk about one of them a little bit later, he's just been consistently dropping the ball, where we've seen a lot of the strongest teams in the league, or across the league right now, have a really strong jungler. Of course, Inspired, we're looking at, LCK. We have, all the junglers there that are doing big jobs. I think Blabber kind of in line with what he's been doing. We're taking a look at the next game here, though, and it's once again just a complete domination from the side of Shopify Rebellion. I mean, this game didn't even look close.
Yeah, this is an interesting one for me. Like, I was a non-believer in the Ziggs bot, just because, I don't know. Ziggs has been underwhelming. Obviously ended up having the most damage in this game, so it was actually pretty good. But then also the AP Maokai, which actually is going to end up being a theme of today's show. I think you guys are going to recognize there's one in almost every series that we're going to cover. But it's the Fudge Cho'Gath again. This guy is a beast on Cho'Gath. He was making huge plays. And I think this game might be what stuck out of my mind. He was just locking down the carries of C9 this game, and a big reason why they won.
Yeah, I think for me, Cloud9 here, the big letdown was Loki. I just don't think Loki performed on Yone. I mean, when you give someone such a carry pick like that, and you can't step up and make those plays to, catch out B-Voy, which is obviously going to be tough, right? He's got the Sivir Shield, but even just Palafox, right? But I know you keep pointing at Fudge. I don't know why, man. I'm just like, Fudge obviously did very well this game, but I just feel like that duo, man, Contracts, he's like the sleeper here.
Fudge enabled them so many times, though. Like, I don't think B-Voy would have popped off as much as he did if Fudge didn't, like, set them up in a lot of these moments.
Oh, I give Contracts all their credit. So it's the same point being made, but Contracts to me is just that guy. He just out macroed Blabber in every way in this game. Like, he outmaneuvered him in the jungle, and I just think even though his stats don't necessarily reflect his dominance, I think that he was such a huge swinging point here because he disabled Blabber from taking over the game, which is kind of what we're used to.
Yeah, I think we were expecting more from the C9 laners, Loki and Thanatos up there, but actually I feel like a big missing point for them in this game was Vulcan. When you have that Poppy and you're playing against Vi and a Rakan jungle support, your whole job is just to disrupt the playmaking from those teams, and they just had the freedom to do whatever they wanted. So I felt like Vulcan kind of fell off a little bit there. As we got into the next game, though, the player who really stepped up, it was Blabber. This was Blabber's big game. Really took over. I think this goes to talk about what we were earlier, where when Blabber's ahead, he's got no issue running the map, dominating objectives, and doing anything. It's in the games more where he's behind. And this one, huge advantage, and just absolutely had his way with Shopify.
Yeah, I think this was also one of their best drafts. Unfortunately, though, at this point, they kind of took a lot of their really strong picks going into this game 4, but it's only to tie up the series, trying to make it a 1v1. But Thanatos, I've always loved him on the Mbessa. Watched his stream a lot. He plays a lot of the Mbessa as well there, and you can definitely tell it's been paying off. As you've talked about, this is a champ that if they can get ahead, they just kind of rule the game. And then, of course, Blabber is one of his best champs we've seen this year, because his disruptions with the pillars have been absolutely filthy, and no pun intended. But, I mean, he looked really good, and this is a game we need him to step up. It's been on, the Senna, of course. You don't have to do too much because you're basically a utility bot, even if you're not getting kills. So I really like this draft from them. They were able to take this game, and I believe both games that they won by close to like 14K. So when they're ahead, they get ahead, but when they're not, and then this leads into game 5, and this is where I think it all fell apart. Granted, draft was just bad, and I can't see them continuing to make their way to Worlds if they can't, secure a good Game 5 draft. This happened against FlyQuest in the previous split. It's happening now. They picked Rek'Sai last pick into Annie. Granted, yes, we did see some buffs to Rek'Sai in 25.16, which was the last patch. But Blabber was just completely zoned out, couldn't do anything because all Palafox had to do was sit there with Annie R and just, wait, and just didn't have to use it until the Rek'Sai came in. And then, of course, he also gave up first blood, so he went from having a great game to probably almost throwing the game number 5 right at the start.
I think this draft was bad even before the Rek'Sai pick, though. Like, as you're coming into the Rek'Sai pick, you have no tanks, you have no setup. Sure, you have a Nico in the support lane, but you need a big, beefy setup character, and there's none of them to pick from. So, like, I think it's just bad. They set this stuff up in a bad position. I think they got a little bit too, like, focused on the Naratos. He loves playing the Nar. He's a great Nar player. And I know comfort in a late game important draft is important, but I think they just kind of blew it a little bit.
I gotta call it again, man. It was Fudge, the Aatrox.
It was. He was big.
Aatrox was crazy this game as well. He was locking people down. He was hitting just about every skill spell every single time. But yeah, I kind of agree with the Rek'Sai thing. This was the first time that Blabber has even played Rek'Sai this year in a competitive match, and to me, that tells me that like he needs to be practicing more champions. Like in Fearless Draft 2025. Your champion pool has to be so deep, and it didn't feel like he was as practiced as he should have on this Game 5.
I know you guys are really critical of the draft, but I don't feel like the draft is that bad. I mean, the Rek'Sai is a little questionable, right, in the comp, but everything else kind of makes sense, right? Like, Nar's a good safe pick. Thanatos is really comfortable on it. Kaisa, right, anyone would take Kaisa. Ryze is also a really good mid laner. And then support, they had Nico, right? These are all such super dominant champs in their role. They just unfortunately they didn't have that cohesion. They didn't really have a good hard engage, right? To shut down something like an Annie or to get on top of that Jinx, just allowing those to pop off. And then, they had Xin Xiao with a lot of peel, Leona with a lot of peel. So yes, they did lose the draft, but overall just champ selection, I don't really feel it's that bad. And I think, yeah, you obviously saw the rust on the Rek'Sai in the jungle, but, that'll dust itself off and they'll get better with time.
Yeah, I mean, well, we'll have to see how they go because they do have to make their lower run. We'll see who they face off after this weekend's games. But we did have a second series and probably one of the most fun series, I would say, of the weekend, and that was FlyQuest versus Team Liquid. And this one pretty much went how most people would expect it to go, 3-0 for FlyQuest. But Team Liquid put up a little bit of a fight, and we also saw some fun picks. But we'll jump into game number 1 first before we get to that fun pick. And this was pretty much all FlyQuest. It was kind of a slower game, but a really good methodical game from them.
Yeah, uncharacteristically slow, I would say, for LTA North. I mean, typically the games that we see with only 3 kills after the 20-minute mark, that's usually LCK matches, right? But this was a very controlled and like disciplined game from both sides, I would say. And then Quad just started going crazy with the Victor. Whippo had some great ults to just out team fight. I don't know, he had perfect timing on a few of the Galio ults. Also had bad timing on at least one of them. But overall, I just didn't really see a lot from APA this game. I feel like the Casio wasn't really doing as much as they needed to, and FlyQuest just took over.
Yeah, I don't know. They're definitely trying to deny Quad one of his signature picks, but it didn't really get any motion for me in the game. Didn't make any waves. I didn't even think this series was that fun, Chris. I'll be honest. You said it was one of the most fun. I was kind of bored by it. It wasn't even very
Game 2 was crazy.
Yeah, game two
was fun.
We got into the weird, funky picks. We got Whippo with the Singe top. And it was cool. I do like seeing that. And, if that's a counter pick into Gwen, who is getting some nerfs in the coming patch, then maybe we could see more of that.
It is a counter pick to Gwen. It's a really good lane counter pick. So Gwen can't really do much to Singe in lane. It's easy to avoid all her spells. But then also just like if you get ahead, you can cause chaos with split pushing. Singe, great pick, man. I mean, that's like, it is a fun pick, but in solo queue, Singe has one of the highest win rate top picks in the whole game.
Being able to ground a
and he's a strong
Ezreal.
counter pick against Gwen. And you saw constantly like he grounded APA, kept him from doing Zig stuff. He was able to ground Ezreal. He's able to ground Vi and deny her Q abilities. So
you can probably still satchel, right? The ground doesn't stop you from satcheling if you're Ziggs. Because it's not it's a move.
Oh, you're right.
Right.
It's not a movement ability, but he uses it.
Yeah.
This was tragic for me because APA, like, obviously he finally gets his pick on the Ziggs, and he's actually having a great game. He made some really awesome plays. They were ahead and had multiple chances to win this game, and then just threw it away somehow. And then Whippo just comes running around, squirting poison everywhere, throwing people over his shoulders. Like, he just started styling on them at the end of the game. But Team Liquid really should have won this game, realistically. They were pretty far ahead at multiple points.
It's definitely the Busio Bard effect.
The
it's
Bard
just
was
something there.
great.
I mean, we're talking about Singe as well, though. So not for sure if everyone knows, but Singe had a bug on the red side where his poison wasn't, ticking to the correct effect. After that was changed going into the last patch to 25.16, it actually skyrocketed his win rate because of that, because now it does cycle correctly for that, which is maybe why they decided they want to go into this game with him instead of, maybe subbing in Geckos. They wanted to actually try out the Singe instead.
He's also free farm. You don't have to last hit with him.
That's very true. But, I mean, really good game with that. Going into game 3, though, I think after that loss, all the wind was taken out of Team Liquid sails there. They came back, tried to put up a fight, but just really couldn't against this FlyQuest team.
The Lucian was going absolutely insane for Masu. Obviously, Busio hit a few huge ults on the Renata as well to just kind of like turn the tide in fights that, you know, they were very far behind, but then just hits 3 people with it. So it completely changed things. And then we see again the AP Maokai, this one having a little bit more success than the one we saw in the last series, but Inspired just doing Inspired things. His ults were on point. He was locking people down on the Maokai and just made every team fight a lot easier.
Yeah, Blippo also was, you know, a kind of a dominant force in this match. Even at that 1-5, he was a tanky problem that TL didn't really have an answer to.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's so easy to give FlyQuest, like, all the flowers and accolades, but, like, for me, you know, another week of queued up, another Kepley hating on Impact, right? Like, Impact just couldn't do anything this series. That guy, like,
yeah,
he can't play carry champs anymore. Like, he's a little washed in my opinion. I've been preaching it for months now, right? Like, he had no showing on Rumble, he had no showing on Gwen, and then he goes to a kind of safe pick that he should perform on Renekton, and even on that he doesn't perform. So, like, Impact, this meta, this game right now is so top lane focused that if something takes over, like an Aatrox or something, then they can just solo carry the games, and Impact has not been that guy for me at all.
Yeah, it almost looks like he was playing a little bit lazy at times. Like, it didn't even look like he was bothering to try to dodge skill shots at certain times. Like, I don't know. It was weird to watch. He is now the player who has played the most games in the LTA, which I think is pretty funny because he started in Korea. But what was it, 700 games he's now played in LTA? Impressive stuff from him on that front. But yeah, it doesn't feel like he's quite as like sharp as he once was.
Yep. Well, that's going to wrap it up for LTA. We do have some games this weekend, so make sure you tune into those for those lower runs to see who the losers will end up facing in the coming weeks for the elimination phases.
We'll talk about them in our fantasy topic
talk
later.
about them, yeah. But let's go ahead and jump across the pond, way across the pond, over to the LCK in Korea.
Multiple ponds, yeah. We did this 3 hops.
Actually, let's go across the country, then jump across the pond there. But so we have T1 versus HLE. The one reason I wanted to bring this up is because right now there is a fight for that second place spot in the LCK in that Legends group. T1 has been on an absolute tear. The only team that they can't really get the best of all the time is Shinji right now. They did get 1 win. But HLE, who had consistently had T1's number through splits 1 and split 2, have now lost to them multiple times and are at risk of losing that second place spot after this loss to T1 and as well as potential other games, because I believe they play at least once more in this cycle. T1 in these games also didn't have the best early game, but just completely came back in the later halves to this. I mean, this was actually a really good series and a banger of a series.
Yeah, the early game for Hanwha, Viper and Delight were kind of running things on this Varus and this Rel combo. And then a really, I don't know, just a weird thing happened in the mid lane with Peanut where I think he saw an opening on Aguma, Keria full baits him from the Raptors pit and catches him, and then it just kind of starts to spiral. That was the chink in the armor.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. #1 support in the world, Keria. I mean, this guy popped off this whole game. So many clutch Bard ultimates to save his team, to catch people out. And then even though the stats don't support it, right, just like Blippo in the last series, Doran, 0-4-9, you wouldn't believe it. But the clutch Ambessa ults to get Viper zoned out of team fights or to stop him from auto-attacking. I mean, Doran and Keria, to me, just took over this game.
Yeah, T1 was so far behind. I want to say it was like 13-3 or something in kills, and they won a fight while being down 5k gold. Like, I don't know, the counter engage was crazy from T1 this game. I want to talk about the Bard as well. Like, not only like the mind that you have to play this champion at a high level is just amazing to me, because he can use it offensively or defensively or like just completely change the tide of a fight. Like, someone went into their Zhonya's Hourglass on the other team at a good moment for them to do it, and then he times the Bard ult so that as soon as he's out of his own stasis, he's put back into stasis, so then they isolate another target while he's still stuck in stasis, and then come back and kill him. I don't know. They're just, he's either doing that or he's stasising his teammates so that he can buy time for the rest of the squad to show up. It's just fun to watch.
Such a stressful character to play, too. I mean, if you go and play it, you will int your team multiple times in every game, and you watch Keria play it, and he never, literally never has a bad ult or anything. So just so absurd. I mean, we thought Busio had a really good Bard in our LTA match we were discussing earlier, but I think Keria kind of won.
Don't try this in solo queue, folks.
Lucio's number 2, Carry is number 1. I've seen some discussions going around that, but I mean, but Faker and Guma, though, stepping up at the end, getting the kills and the damage needed. This leads us into game 2, which was probably one of the craziest matches that I've seen in a while, especially out of Guma Yushi, stealing Barons and then pretty much going on his own because he wanted to win that game at the end. The calling into 5 members of HLE while his team is twisted advanced and stuck by the Maokai ult, jumps in there, gives his coaching staff a heart attack pretty much. But I mean, this was another game where HLE just seemed to drop the ball. They had a beginning lead. It was pretty close, but then they just can't really seem to find that end game once again. And they still had a really good draft, though.
Well, I mean, you say HLE couldn't find it. I say Zeka threw the game out the window. He overextends right in the base, gets caught out, completely throws that team fight, and he gives T1 the window back into the game, right? So single-handedly, Zeka, a little bit of miscommunication on their team, just that one overcommit. You go against a good team like that, it snowballs where T1's able to rally back, get that Baron, start pushing into a fight, start allowing that Guma Yushi 5-man ult that you allude to, and then they close out the series, series and the game, but really, it's like HLE should have won that game, and this just showed to me T1's overall resiliency versus HLE. HLE kind of faltered in that moment, and I think this was a must-win series for them to even be in contention for number 2 spot, and I think T1 has just locked that in.
Yeah, how does this go into the playoffs for them? Like, because I mean, we see Hanwha losing to T1 and GG and stuff, but like I don't really have that much like worry that they're going to continue beating the B and Ks and the other LCK teams.
Yeah, I definitely foresee them being. I think this right now, just what path is easiest to get there. Obviously, Gen G is already locked in round 2, so now we're trying to see who will get another round into the So right directly into playoffs round 2. Gen G has already secured that right now. LCK, HLE. Let me just double check this. They still are in that second spot because they have like that 1 win still up on them, especially after their win today versus KT, who just can't seem to get a win, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But to get that easier, a little bit of pathway to make sure that they do make it, because Shinji's already qualified for Worlds, so that means that the runners-up, depending on who comes in, that second, third, and fourth spot will make it to Worlds for LCK. So I think right now, T1 just kind of want to submit that second place, get that best run for it, and that's kind of really what they're looking at right now when they do face HLE and Gen G once more. I believe this week and next week.
Yeah, I mean, this is just going back to the series, like HLE's draft in the second game felt like it was so good too. I mean, you got Maokai rooting everybody up, Blitzcrank kidnaps one of them, Yone starts slicing them up, the other guys are getting rumble ulted. Like, I don't know, it felt like everything should have worked for them, and it did in the first half of the game, but T1 just always find a way to win, man. Their team fighting, like in the late game, I think is like the best in the world. I mean, Gen G, of course, is in that conversation, but the T1 team fighting is so impressive. It's so fun to watch, man.
Yeah. I want to talk about good team fighting. G2 has finally come back. They have finally started to play some of their games. At this point, they're 3, but we're going to talk about their second game in Group B, which was against Fnatic, who at the time was 3-0. They have mid laner Poby, who joined from T1 Academy, and have looked absolutely great since then, but they hadn't really been tested just yet. They finally got tested, and it was versus G2, and G2 has looked amazing since Worlds, and they seem to just keep going up, up, and up right now. And this series, it wasn't necessarily very close, but I think it was a very good statement series by G2, especially starting with that game 1.
Kled!
Man, I gotta say, this game gave me Vietnam flashbacks to playing against Kleds in solo queue, because this guy is unkillable, man. Like, I don't know why people aren't playing Kled more often. Broken Blade was the timing on the remounts where every time just get that massive shield back. He did it like 3 different times this game, and like he just was such a problem to deal with.
He was a problem. I'll be honest though, G2 won this because they're better. I don't like this draft. Like, I think if you objectively look at what G2 has right here, you've got Alistar and 4 characters with global ultimates. I think that you should dominate the early game with this comp, but then this Fnatic comp should be scaling into and be unbeatable. There's no way that this right side team comp should be able to win a fight around a Dragon or around a Baron if you're even close. But Fnatic falls apart. They go down 5 to 6k gold, and then the comp can kind of win even without combat ults.
Do you think it's because they're not used to playing against Kled? Like,
I think the Kled, it played into that in the top lane matchup specifically, but we really weren't seeing the Kled go too crazy with, hyper mobility ultimates going around. The most like, actually, even with the Talia, it wasn't too much. Mostly I was seeing Pantheon and Kaisa zoom around together.
Yeah,
But,
I mean,
so in that matchup, but in the team fights,
I think the value from Kled came from him just like keeping the attention of 2 or 3 players at once. They're just beating the crap out of him, using all their spells on this Kled, can't even kill him. And then by the time the rest of the squad shows up, like they've got nothing left. So
They didn't have enough burst to kill him when Carl ran off and left him. But just having that pressure of always like the long range engage and being able to charge in and rally your team. I think Kled was definitely a staple here, but obviously like Kled alone couldn't do it. Skewmond on the Pantheon. I mean, give that guy his flowers because that's one of the top jungle picks you can have, and Skewmond absolutely popped off this game. He went nuts.
Yeah, I didn't see the pick ban process on this. Typically, Pantheon's like on this patch first ban, 100%. So it was kind of surprising to see that he even was able to use the Pantheon. So yeah, they gotta fix that.
Yeah, I definitely think this is a Fnatic team who came out hot, but unfortunately they're still trying to learn, and especially into this game number 2, we see a Rek'Sai again, but this time going into the top lane, having a lot more success, but kind of more, looks like a more team built around it. You, of course, have the shields coming out of the Karma and the Galio. You have the Xin Chao, which is a good initiation tank, and then, of course, Hansama has just been popping off on that Ezreal throughout the whole entire year. And again, unfortunately, Poby this time just completely fell flat. Has looked pretty good up until this series, 1-7 on that Annie, though.
Dude, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I also didn't like this draft from G2. I mean, the Rek'Sai worked.
What's wrong with this draft?
It's low damage. I mean, you've got a full tank Rek'Sai up in the top, which I guess works for neutralizing the Cassante. I mean, they were zeros, like literally they weren't killing each other. Both were just full tanks that neither side could really kill. But they're just kind of low damage. I mean, the Ezreal has to get time to scoot up and stuff, but you've got a Galio in the mid lane and a Karma. So I just saw it as kind of low damage. It did work for them, but it didn't fit my taste.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, looking at both of these drafts, I do feel like Fnatic's draft in both games should have been the stronger one, but they just kind of got outplayed. I don't know. G2 just kind of outsmarting them in certain spots, taking calculated risks that panned out, and Hansama just outputting massive damage. This guy was just nonstop wailing on them with Qs towards the end of the game, and they just couldn't find a kill. Mickey X was like, he had a few good Nico ults, but like a lot of the time he's only ulting like a single player, and then everyone just kind of walks away and then comes back.
Yeah, look how mobile that team is. Yeah. Karma speed up, Rek'Sai can E out, Ezreal can E out. I mean, yeah,
Galio will just tank it.
Yeah, jump on Galio and jump on Xin Chao. Good luck. All right. Yeah. Oh, you jump on Xin Chao. Here comes Galio from across the.
Or you just get ulted back.
Yeah. So it's just like, to me, this comp was perfect, and this is just a tale as old as time. It doesn't matter what 5 players are on that Fnatic roster as of late. G2 always has their number. They have the mental game. Fnatic just, when they come into a match against G2 with this rivalry, for whatever reason, they always just crumble, right? Like I think they've played like 80 series total or 80 games, and G2's now taking like 50 of them, right? So it's just Fnatic can't do anything against
G2. Fnatic, unfortunately, just the split does not favor them in terms of time. They got the new mid laner trying to make everything work out. Good showing up until then, but G2 is just kind of consistently look like the best team in Europe. As of right now, of course, they will have to face off versus Koi and KC, who are on the opposite side in Group A. So once their group stage finishes, then we'll see how they can fare against each other and who possibly will end up making it to Worlds for Europe. But they still have a couple more weeks in their playoffs to go through that. But that's all for the round the league. Of course, we do have some of the matches that will be played up this weekend, so we are going to have those lower seeds. So, of course, we'll talk about some of our pick'ems a little bit later for that. But let's jump into one of our fun segments, Clutch or Kick time. We're going to start off with J-Dog.
Awesome. My Clutch or Kick this week is going to be about the Arena game mode. I think that the Arena game mode deserves some esports love. I think it's really fun. There is some randomness, so my caveat that I'll throw in here is that maybe it needs some, like a ranked mode that lowers some variance, removes some of the more OP traits and augments and stuff that you can get in there. But I think it's really fun to play, really fun to watch, and there's tons of League players who I think would eat up a smaller, not 5v5 esport format. And we've seen a lot of success in the TFT world right nowadays, so I think there should be some faith in Riot to invest some money in it.
I'm going to go ahead and clutch this. I think Arena is really cool. It's like a way to just kind of showcase your mechanics, especially for players that might be, I guess, a little bit tired of Summoner's Rift. Wow. Summoner's Rift and just like how long it takes to play a single game of it, it can turn some people off. So if you have a shorter attention span, and you got some sick mechanics, you're probably pretty good at Arena. And it would be really fun to see kind of the way like metas develop around different team compositions. So I agree. I think it'd be a fun esport.
I'll go ahead and clutch it as well, but I want to keep all the random variants for it.
Okay.
As a TFT enjoyer, I want to see that randomness come into full effect for some of them. You know, you definitely have some of those like crazy, like experiences that they come out and, I think I think this is what would make it super unique is that random variance, but you still have a lot of skill expression because of how you pilot the champs in it as well. So I think it'd be really cool.
Easiest kick of my life. Things can just be fun, right? We don't need everything to be an esport or to necessarily have potential.
Why not
for it.
both?
It could be
Well,
fun
because then you start getting the argument of like balance this versus that, or the same thing as he's talking is like remove the identity of it with some of the randomness just to make it even competitively
Why not
viable.
have it
So that alone, but then you
I think it's
limit.
already
It's
balanced
already
differently.
sweaty.
So.
Then
It
you
is
limit
already
your
very
player
sweaty,
numbers because you're splitting queues, right? There's a lot of problems and questions and things that start to unfold when you go down that route. They already had a ranked when Arena first came out. That's why like you still when you go and inspect your guy, you have like the bronze or the wood or the whatever's you ranked up. That used to be a ranked queue that you had and it flopped. So like the game's just meant to be fun. It's just like ARAM, right? There will be one-off tournaments for it. Like, we go over to Los Ratones and Boss has competed in them a few times. They do 2v2 formats with that.
And they're lots of fun, right? They look great.
I don't think
They're very enjoyable to watch and to compete in. I'm with you. My only just counterpoint would be I agree that you don't want to take too much from the actual mode, which is why I think ranked ARAM, competitive ARAM will be in everything because it's 5v5 league the same way that Summoner's Rift is. I think that the Arena player base is a little separate and you could still do both. So I think there's room for that. And I do think not everything needs to be competitive, but Arena does.
Well, don't worry. We can now kick his. Go ahead.
Oh, that's all right, because mine, I'm coming with Thunder. I don't think that, now we've seen it for a while, I don't think that Fearless Draft, my clutch pick, Fearless Draft is not enough to help League Esports. When it first came up, Fearless Draft was, praised. I did it myself. I'm still Justin on screen, but I did it myself where I said, hey, Fearless Draft, this is like the best thing ever. This is going to be goated. And then what happened? We had a few weeks of randomness, and we get these random moments here or there where we get a Kled or we get a Rek'Sai top. But at the end of the day, it's the same 10 champions in game 1, typically the same in game 2, the same in game 3. So like we have a defined Fearless Draft meta now. It's not creating that sense of like chaos or creative strategy that we hoped that it would. It's just the same thing, but 10 different champions every time, and it's the same formula. So that's my pitch. It's not enough to save the esport.
I'll start off. I'm going to not be vengeful to you for kicking me last time, and I'm going to clutch it. I agree. I think I said this on a few episodes ago where I had this worry that Fearless would actually cut down on the amount of unique picks because since players are forced to be so good at the top 5, 6, 7 champions in their role now because they could have to play them all, they don't have as much time to practice the other ones, the weird ones, the fiddle supports, fiddle jungle, Nunu jungle, all those things. So I do agree that it's one, in just the grand scheme of things, Fearless was never going to be the savior of League that brings all the viewers back, but even in the actual implementation, it's not as unique. It's more each five games in a series are more unique, but overall each game of League I watch is less unique than it was before.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and kick this. I think Fearless is the best thing that has happened to League Esports in memory, like maybe ever in the last 10 years, because it really has opened the door for people to play champions we haven't seen in a long time. Yeah, it might not, like it kind of changed the meta and the way that you approach your teams and drafts, but I think that we're still seeing new champions we never saw. We are seeing some unique picks, and I think it's just better overall. I feel like it's also the highest viewership that we've ever had, and I think Fearless is a part of that.
Yeah, so mine is weird because like I'm split between them. So based off of the wording that I see on the screen, I have to clutch it because of that. I like Fearless, but I also never thought Fearless was going to be a savior. I think it's just the one step, and it's kind of that one where they don't want to implement too many changes to the competitive scene at one time to just kind of like blow it off its heels. So it's like that one step in the right direction, but there still needs to be other multiple steps to kind of make it that really fun, unique experience that I guess everyone wants. And I think that will take a little bit of time. Luckily, Faker has re-signed, so we will have a couple more years to try to implement all those things. I personally love Fearless. I think that even though we still see a similar meta, that's always going to be the way it is when you have a drafting system like that, but Fearless makes it more fun.
I'm confused though. Why does League need saving? Is it not already the top 2 esport in the world? Like,
Oh, it's on a downward climb, but
League's on a big.
it's on a big downward climb.
what as far as
I
player
think-
base?
Player base, viewer counts, the
has
esports
most-
down.
has the
Worlds
most
gets
viewership.
more views, and also a lot of the
Broken the viewership record multiple times this year.
Yeah, but there's when you get more into the stats, like Dom and a lot of the co-streamers have done. The stats get very skewed in a certain way, where they reach a higher peak, but they're also including like an eBuy co-stream in those LEC numbers to say they're reaching those. It's not the same as it was.
Yeah, like if Cadril takes a week off of watching League, you're gonna notice.
So what would save it then?
I unfortunately
There are
don't know.
people paid.
Arena.
There are people paid
Arena.
7 figures to figure out that.
I mean, I think
We will let them
realistically,
figure
going
it
back
out.
to some of the older styles, like still my favorite thing that has ever been in League that no region's done since OGN left the Korean scene is blind pick game 5. So there's no bans, everything's on the table. You can that's where you get great memes. So WTF 2 shins, right? Like people are just picking their absolute peak. You're gonna sometimes get mirror matchups, but it's just like a true expression of skill. I think blind pick was way more fun to me than a game 5 fearless draft.
I think those things are too micro to save League. You need to create like format changes,
Bigger.
open tournaments, combining regions, do something like that. Like we do a global League regular season in Riyadh or something. Like it needs to be crazy. It needs to be something that even the grandmas and the random people who don't play, not League nerds like us, something that would get them to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, just to close it out, the last point is like, if League was truly that successful this year as it would be, someone like 100 Thieves, they wouldn't be selling their spot. They wouldn't be giving it away willingly because they would be getting enough return on investment for exposure or for their players or for the viewership that it brings. And North America is where the money's made. That's why a lot of people, when they retire, come to North America. And even here in the LTA North, right, the worst rebrand of all time, right, our viewership is dipping. There's not enough return on investment, so people are just leaving.
I think all of the things you just mentioned are unrelated to the point, but let's move on.
Well, you guys let us know in the comments who is right, who's wrong, and how you would save League. But we'll go ahead and jump into mine real quick. I'll let the clip play first, and then I'll let them know what my clutch or kick is.
This guy has no flash. Like, how much aura has this guy got?
Yeah, I should run flash.
But is this not a perfect grub timer?
But even my question, even Maokai Plus, if we not try that one, what's point? Then what's point?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying, like, how can a flashless Maokai 1v2 walk into river
You can.
and take long?
Just go on.
Alrighty, Inspired has the most aura in the West. This dude has been completely running the LTA North scene, but I don't even think anyone in Europe matches the aura that this guy has. 1v2 on the Maokai, walks in the river. They don't do anything because they're just afraid of him. Why? Because he usually has someone to back up or he's going to completely outplay you. Right now, Inspired is pretty much just running the West.
Yeah, it's like
Can we do something different for this one? Audible. Can we all three flip Ires at the exact same time?
At the same time?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm not looking at you guys. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Go ahead, Eli.
I mean, you guys already know I'm a big Inspired stan, and I think it's because his play is so calculated that when they see him appear in River and he looks defenseless, they're like, well, he wouldn't make a stupid mistake like that because he's that good. He typically doesn't make that mistake, and that's why they're afraid to engage with him. They're like, his coach is like, why are we not attacking a flashless Maokai? They're like, well, every time I've done that in the past, I've died. So I think that it's absolutely correct. These guys are afraid to fight him because he doesn't make mistakes.
So I'm kicking this not because I think the statement is incorrect, but because I think Chris is fishing for a super clutch here, man. We're supposed to be coming up with semi-controversial statements. Inspired definitely has the most aura. Nobody's even close
I
to
was
it.
hoping that someone would go off of Caps and think that Caps would bring.
Now,
because
maybe
of his,
former
Caps
Caps. Maybe
has lost his aura.
Caps 4 years
But
ago.
Inspired doesn't have the most aura in his region, bro. Blippo is the king of aura in his team.
Blippo does
Like,
have aura.
No,
Blippo is
he
the
has-
ultimate
he has
aura.
aura, but he was
You don't prep-
flopping at the beginning of the
you
season.
don't
Why
prep for
Blippo?
FlyQuest for Inspired. You prep for Blippo, right? Every team does it. Every team plays around Blippo because Blippo is the heart and soul of that team.
I
I think they do that because
I
Whippo
think
can crumble.
he can.
And he can make a mistake.
Right.
You try and prep for Inspired, you're just going to
Right.
still get
Yeah.
far.
That's it. I mean, Whippo at the
means that
beginning
I'm
of the
still-
split.
we're on the same
split
side.
one, split two. He was ramping up there.
Why'd you
He
clutch
was
it?
getting there.
Why'd I clutch it? Because Inspire does have the most aura in the West.
No,
Yep.
Whippo. He doesn't even have the most aura in his
Nah.
team, dude.
Wide Whippo gets carried.
When
Got carried
Whippo
a lot.
leaves and Gakkos comes onto the team, you guys are going to see that team is going to lack a leader. That's going to be the moment.
It's Inspired who's going to be leading them.
Oh, we'll see.
No, we'll see. Yeah,
see.
fine.
We'll
But-
see.
We'll see.
We'll see. That's the guy that hated on Lions, and technically he was right, but he was still wrong.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, we're throwing line shade on.
All right. This one is going to sound a little crazy, but you should be happy that skins cost $250 in League of Legends.
Are we doing this all together?
No. We're doing
This is, of course, the controversial one that I don't expect to get a super clutch on. But my point is, it's a free-to-play game, all right? Like, you don't have to buy the skins. Look at Faker. He's the best in the world. He doesn't even use skins. You don't have to look cool to play the game. Now, if that's where you get your dopamine from, I'm sorry. But the people that do spend the $250 on the skin, even if it's not you and you can't afford it, they're the ones that are paying for the servers, the champions, all the things that you enjoy for free. It's like you're living in a country that only you don't have to pay taxes and other people are paying the taxes for you. So you should be happy that other people are spending that $250.
Do you have a skin example?
Well, you know, all the, what is it, the exalted
Ari?
skins?
think-
Yeah, like Faker
I don't
Ari.
think Kep should go first, considering the amount of skins that he does own. I don't think he gets
I'm
way
surprised.
safe for it.
Another old school player and you like skins? I don't know.
This is an easy clutch for me. I mean, like, it's an easy clutch because people are oftentimes complaining about the model, but Riot speaks openly all the time about, like, that's why the whole Hextech chest controversy happened. They had to get rid of those. Like, they are losing money because people don't want to buy skins. And so they have a market where they're targeting whales of it, right? They're targeting the people who can spend that much money for a skin. And yes, there will be situations where it sucks and it happens to be your favorite champion at that time gets a $250 skin. But hey, I'll say it on the open, I own the Hall of Fame Faker Ari skin, right? I put out that money. It's like $300 or whatever it was. I own it because that's 10 years of my life of watching Faker and seeing his legacy that I wanted to have that for my account to have value. And I barely even play Ari, but when I do play Ari, I have that skin ready to go. So you're welcome, free-to-play players. I got you Hextech chest by spending money.
Okay.
All right, I'll go. So this probably wouldn't happen if we didn't have a team lunch and a conversation about some EA sports games where you probably spend close to 4 times as much for just to make yourself competitive in the game.
Dude.
We're talking about EA Soccer. I don't think it's that bad because, as you said, you don't have to spend it. You can be happy spending $250, and then, like this guy over here, he's happy he got that skin and he spent the money on it. If you're not gonna be happy about it, you don't have to buy it. So I'm gonna go ahead and clutch this because I think it could be a lot worse because there are some games where if you want to compete in them, you do have to spend a lot more than $250.
I am going to kick this,
I tried,
unfortunately. The real issue, I think it's fine that skins cost $250. The point from the clutch or kick, the statement itself that I'm kicking is that we should be happy about it because what I think this is, it's indicative that, like we talked about earlier, that League is kind of on the downcline. I think that if things were still trending upward, player base was still going good, we wouldn't be pumping out $250 skins that we know is going to cause scandals. We'd maybe put out some $40 skins or something, and we'd keep the player base churning those out. I think this is potentially like the first stage of the ring in the player base for what we can get out of them and see how far we can push the envelope.
I'm coming to his defense here because in the past few months, the Riot League skin has been going back to their roots, and they've created a lot of great cheap skins. So they are starting to put some more that's available for that market. So like it's like bowling ball. What's the jungle mage deer? Lilia. Yeah, they've got like the bowling Lilia.
The Lego
they have like
Corki.
Sandcastle Malphite. They've got Lego Corki. I mean, they have a lot of fun, cheap skins now, and they got away from that model
Sleight
for a
of
while.
hand.
Right? But I would argue that's not even
Ignore
sleight
our
of hand.
$250 Ari skin. Look at this little,
I actually
have some
have to buy
scraps.
Yeah, well, no, I don't even use that point. I disagree because League openly says this is what we're doing, and we are purposely targeting those whales, right? So, like, yeah, like Darkstar Jin was a big controversial one where they said, hey, actually, we are doing a reskin of this and an upgrade on it. And yes, it is specifically targeted for Jin mains that want to spend that money. So like the fact that they're not trying to hide sleight of hand on it is why I'm okay with the fact. And you have the gotcha machine now, right? That's there, and they are going to probably start pivoting more towards that market. But at the end of the day, it's a company. They need to make money to survive, and so you're going to choose. As long as they keep doing gotcha and cheap skins and whale skins, they're appealing to everyone.
They're expanding too, right? Like they're doing a lot of different things. Like they're adding new features to the game, like the WASD and all these other things. Like people got to get paid for all the new features they're bringing to the table. Plus, we got these crazy like cinematics that are better than anyone in the industry. Like these people got to get paid.
Turn that red green, man. Help my boy out.
He's sticking with it there. But those were our Clutcher Kicks. Let us know if you agreed or disagreed with any of our takes. But we're going to go ahead and jump into another fun segment. It's going to be our Build Our Loadout for the Fantasy League. Once again, we're doing a Fantasy League here at Driven. You can do it at home with your friends, ltafantasy.com, to build out your team. Again, this week is one of those weeks where we have to pick from the teams that are only playing, so it kind of limits what we can pick or not pick. We'll go ahead and start with Kepley, though. What was your team?
So we had so much money to work with. So I went with Disguised Disguised Team Castle at the top lane with Ornn, Scary, and CEO from Leviathan Esports for I picked J4 and Yunara. And then Lion, right? I'm a Lion lover, baby. I had to go with Saint there for Talia. And then Redbert, he was just kind of like he seemed like the best sport to pick with my leftover money. So from Loud. I don't actually know anything about Redbert, but please pick Nico and please do well, sir.
All right, we'll go ahead and take a look at mine. So I tried to go for as much of the buff as I could, so I got 4 different. Robo and Griffin from Loud. I also went with Saint from Lion, Raheldo from Disguise, and then Ackerman from Isurus Gaming.
Okay, who's next?
It'll be you.
All right, yeah, so I've got Robo from Loud as well, River from 100 Thieves, Dark Wings, who's been popping off for Disguise. I think he's probably the best player on that team. CEO from Leviathan, and then Toplop. The reason I picked Toplop was because I saw J-Dog got a ton of points from this pick. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to see if he can pop off for me too.
Yeah, I think as we get into mine, you're going to see my disagreement about who I think is the best Disguise player. I'm with Chris. I've got Rahel down in the bot lane. I've got Toplop again. I'm a little worried about that. He did get me like 40-plus points in one of these previous weeks, but usually when I go to someone after that, they let me down. But then up in the top side, I've got Photon, Griffin, and Saint. I actually had no trouble with this week. I felt like all the players were scaled so low since these were bottom teams that I could pick whoever I wanted, get any 5 variety buff, and really had no issue.
That's 3 Saints, isn't it?
Did they?
So. Are we all different on our picks? I have a 0 for my pick on him.
I think I did Talia.
I'll be honest with the picks. I don't even think about them. I literally just go, what's the most meta mid laner that's like 1.5, and then I'm just going for it.
The dog pound on top, baby. But I don't know if we're gonna show it, but Eli, man, shout out to you. You won last week. You won.
Oh, did I?
You won pretty single-handedly. Yeah. You took first last week.
Well, yeah, I put a lot of thought into last week's. This one a little less, but it's because of what J-Dog said. I think they fixed the budget. Maybe people were complaining that they didn't.
I don't think they fixed it.
No, it's because it's the lower 4 teams now.
They're just not worth
on that
as much.
cheaper budget. Yeah, so.
Well, yeah, but I mostly just picked like, okay, who's got who's been averaging the most points and has a decent matchup. So.
Yeah, you did a strat that I debated with for a while where you put Photon in the top. So you have Disguise versus Dignitas. And I kind of wanted to do that, but then I was worried that the game would drag out and it'd be a slugfest, and they're both going to give each other a lot of deaths and minus points. So I just opted to. Yeah, I didn't go for the 5-time multiplier. I just went with 4.
That's what my thoughts on it as well.
Also, shout out to Davis. He's not here today. He's over in Germany at Gamescom having himself a good time. He's in 2nd place right now. Yep. We got a pretty competitive top 3. I think that Chris and Kep would be in a lot better position if they didn't, skip a couple weeks. But
I'm on the comeback tour.
But we got a pretty competitive little game going here.
Yeah, I mean, it'll definitely be interesting to see how some of these games played out. Obviously, you can definitely tell who we're kind of rooting for to win some of those games and what teams we're going to think are going to win some of those games based off of some of our picks, except for J-Dog over here, who just wants to see if he can get the most points out of those games. But those games will be played this weekend. The winners of those will then move on to play some of the other teams in Elimination Phase Part 2. Hopefully we can get some good games to talk about next week for those, because last week gave us some very interesting games for LTA North and LTA South, as actually both number 1 seeds ended up falling. So very interesting there. We'll have to see who gets the most points. Maybe we can get a weekly update for that. But as we're heading towards the end of the season, we'll crowned a champion here soon for the LTA Fantasy. If you want to join in, make sure you join LTAfantasy.com, join in with your friends, or just join a general league, and you can end up seeing how you do. But let's go ahead and jump into some of the big stories for the League of Legends over the past week. And we can't start without talking about Faker and his 700th win in the LCK. Not only has he broken 1,000 games played in the LCK, now he's breaking 700 wins. I mean, this guy has been on top of it. He broke the most amount of games at MSI this year as well. He's just breaking records left and right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of the people that I'm not like crazy about every single milestone achievement. Like, yeah, he's been playing the most. He's the best. He's gonna keep winning. Like,
dude, I'm with you. I was about to do a whole comedic bit where I fake yawned and said that, but like, and I'm glad we get to talk about Faker so we can put him in the thumbnail. But like, dude, we don't need I feel like in a week I'm gonna see Faker 750 wins in the LCK. Like, come on, though. Let's give some other people some time to shine.
I'm the same way too. 700's not a cool milestone. It's like, yeah.
777.
Show me when he's at
I'll take
1,000.
that.
Yeah, say it, move on. 1,000 wins matters. 500, 1,000, right? Make these milestones seem something. But when you're just like looking for these stats to plug and announce all the time, it just takes away from the value of when you do see that announcement to me. And this is just like, it's a milestone of longevity, so it's cool, whatever. But like, yeah, move on.
Farm your engagements. No shame. No shame to the LCK social media manager. I'm sure if there's probably literally, it would not surprise me if there's a business quota given to them by their manager. You need this amount of tweets about Faker per week.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's just like in the middle of watching a game, it's like, Carrier just got his 1,050th assist. Like, cool. All right. Like, I don't know. It's definitely farming.
Yep. Well, we're going to talk about some patch notes because we had a good conversation about this last week where we're talking about the AP Gangplank. Now, the patch notes coming into the next patch that we're going to see a preview, they've actually started talking about how they want to shift some of that gameplay from some other champions to possibly seeing some of the like AP Kaisa. We're going to see some of the lane Kane that they want to try to put in. Of course, they're also talking about tackling smurfing, etc. But this is a big one because they are talking about this is kind of one of the patches that are going to start heading towards that Worlds patch. So they might want to shake up the meta just a little bit. But do you think this would be good, adding some like Aurelia? AP Aurelia was the one that they were talking about, lane Kane, possibly even, I believe it was
Nyla
like jungle.
Jungle.
Nyla Jungle.
Yeah,
Jungle. So here we can see it a little bit better. The Coggles for the Maul, AP Cog Maul as well as something that they want to do. Some buffs to Kassadin, etc.
Yeah, I don't know. I like some of these picks. I don't really have a lot of faith that the buffs they do are going to cause them to get played in this position. Like, yeah, Aurelia's got some AP scaling numbers on her E and stuff and her R.
Which one's her E?
The stun.
The stun.
No. It's the AP scaling for her is not on the stun. It's on her damage one. She gets big damage resist essentially when she has it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So she's more tanky when she goes in.
Yes, but I'm not that confident that they're going to really actually get anything. Nyla Jungle sounds reasonable to me, and a lot of these like marksman junglers generally fit well when they get buffs because it just increases their clear speed. So that one, maybe. I mean, I don't know. A lot of this also kind of felt like same way that the LCK tweet was like Faker pandering. This felt like it was like Los Ratones and Baus pandering. Like literally, those are two of Baus's like meme picks, AP Aurelia and Lane Kane. That he actually plays the Kane, so it's not that much of a meme. But I do feel like they were kind of pandering to their audience here, and really they're kind of doing that pretty heavy on the social media right now. The active rioters on social media, I do like it, but they're just on like kind of, I don't know, PR campaign.
Subtitle here says gearing up for anti-boosting and smurfing. Is that this patch will include those?
They said there may be about 2 patches out, I believe.
Okay.
That's something that they're going to be looking for, but this is just kind of like they're starting to like really ramp up for it. Of course, of what Jadar was talking about, and a lot of the writer that has been tweeting out, a lot of that has been about the anti-smurfing and the anti-cheating. And then, of course, another one is that the red dot side changes. As Kepley had mentioned earlier, Singe saw a massive boost in his win rate after those changes last patch were implemented to that the cycle now works correctly on the dot for Rumble R as well as the Singe Poison. So that will be, really big going into that. So they'll see a little bit of a nerf because of that change.
There's Baus
there
really
it is.
replying
Yep.
to the actual tweet. thanking them, #ad. But
Yeah, we kind of moved off of it, but just to put my 2 cents up in there, I think it's really cool how they're doing it. Like they've been trying to get more things in the jungle for a while, and I feel like that's a spot that really makes sense to try to enable more things to also be played in the jungle. Because like old school, maybe before your time, Eli, but like way back in the day, like Twitch jungle was kind of niche, but also kind of strong in the right hands, right? So if you can get some 80 carries in there, it just lets some of these lesser known champions shine somewhere else. Like you don't necessarily always need your 80 carry to be bot lane. Have some 80 carries that excel in the jungle, and then they can start to get some more prevalence on the patch and stuff like that. But just more roles is just cool, different play styles to enable. AP Jax, like you say it's the boss effect, but I just say that boss is the only one confident enough to use those niche picks in pro play and try to take them up that far. A lot of people know about it, but they can't do it because their coach won't approve or whatever.
Yeah, I would love to see them buff a lot of the underplayed champions in pro play specifically. Like, I don't know, when is the last time you saw like an Evelyn in pro play? Or I don't know, there's a lot of champions that just never get played. So I would like to see those get buffed a little bit more.
Don't buff Evelyn.
We didn't see a lot of
the
that.
bronze players will get absolutely.
Don't buff Evelyn. Right, don't listen to this man. Pick another one.
It's always tricky. It's always tricky to balance like across ranks, right? Because like one champ, like Master Yi, I just saw Master Yi was nerfed in this, and it's probably because Master Yi is farming in low ranks, but he's never gonna get picked in pro play. So I don't know. It's a very difficult challenge.
You let AP Yi shine again, he'll be picking pro play.
Well, you all let us know what champions you want buff, not buff. Hopefully it's not Evelyn. But let's go ahead and talk about, so Navi just entered the LEC scene in split number 3. They played 3 games and then are now eliminated. So unfortunately for them, despite coming in, a lot of, talk has been shown that, unfortunately the split does just not favor teams that have not had a lot of practice. This goes in the show for Navi here. And unfortunately, they only played 3 best of 3s, and now they don't get to play anymore for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think this goes back to what we talked about earlier. It's just like a problem with League in general. It's like, this shouldn't be good, in my opinion, for anyone. Like, hey, Navi, give us all this money so you can have a spot in the league. Bye. Like, thanks for playing your 3 games. No more brand exposure for you. No more your players get to shine or show anything like that. The format just kind of sucks, and I think it leads to problems like this. Yeah, not everyone can make it to Worlds, but they should at least have the ability to upset someone or to keep playing all these other teams and get more reps and get more experience in.
Yeah, I honestly I'm not surprised. They kept a lot of rogue players, so I expected them to be eliminated at this point. I don't know. Even when you take over at this point, it's pretty much a losing cause, and maybe they'll blow things up in this offseason, and next year will be Navi's first year. So in that sense, it could be a successful season for them. Get your toes wet in the league and then prep for the future. But they need some changes.
It's weird for me. Like, what is Navi's benefit of being here? Just like having the league scene see their name again. Like, does it really get a return on investment for how much it costs to have this spot? Like, I don't know much about the background here, but it does feel like Navi's got to be losing money off this endeavor if they paid, what was it, like $2.5 million is supposedly about how much it costs to have a league spot. So I don't know, RIP, I guess. But
I think if you're a European org, you want to be in the LEC. League, we have player-based issues here in North America, but Europe has tons of players, and League is very big over there, even if the viewership's kind of declining or moving to casual stream or whatever. So I do see the purpose of being there. They just need to make some maybe big moves this next season, not just these little half.
Yeah, they need to get a better team.
I mean, the thing is, I've seen, people kind of complain about LCK's format, but, they're playing games week in and week out, and there have been teams that have been able to rise a little bit. Unfortunately, if you're in that Legends group, right now you're just getting kind of rolled by the top 3, but if you look on the Ascend side, there's been some teams that have been going off and on being able to find some wins, and unfortunately, for Navi, I think it's a big thing. It's just the showcase. Just we got in there, but you only get to play 3 games. Obviously, it may have been we just want to get in, and the next season we'll make the big changes, nuke the roster most likely, and then bring in what we can. But this kind of sucks that, they did all this work. They had been in talks with Rogue for such a long time and with the LEC to, get into that spot. You get in there and you can't even, really do too much. So
yeah. It was the first time, though. Like you said, I think it's probably a longer-term goal for them to do more next year. So we'll see.
All right, well, that wraps up all our big stories for this week. We'll see what we have next week for you. But thank you again for joining us on this episode of Queued Up. We enjoyed having you, and we'll Well, sorry, I can't speak, but we'll see you all next time, and hopefully I'll have a better outro. See y'all.
It's okay. I can't do outros either.
None of us can.
Boom.